Hey guys, Michael here. Today I'm going to be talking about p0lybot, the fake cheatbreaker cheat. There are claims about running code as ring 0 or kernel mode, which is totally impossible the way that they claim to do it, by the way. And how I believe we could actually run code as ring 0 and theoretically bypass not only cheatbreaker, but badlion client and a bunch of other really hard to bypass anti-cheats like, for example, battleye, the anti-cheat that Fortnite uses. So first off, I'm just going to explain why p0lybot is obviously fake. So p0lybot claims that they run code as ring 0, which for those who don't know is basically the kernel mode. It's as low level as you can get in most operating systems, basically system level, like driver level in essence. Which the way that they describe this is totally impossible because for those who don't know, ring 0 cannot be achieved by normal software or programs. The only way that you can achieve ring 0, under Windows at least, is by loading a device driver, which runs at ring 0. Obviously, software cannot run at ring 0 for security reasons, because if it could screw your computer without you even having to give it administrator privileges or anything. So they claim that they run code as ring 0. The only way to do this is by loading a device driver. But of course, if you did that, you'd have to disable driver signature enforcement. You'd have to put Windows in test mode, which obviously they didn't ask you to do when you bought that cheat. And they'd also have to install a driver, which you'd get a little pop-up that says, like, do you want to install this driver? And you press install. So now that that's out of the way, the reason that, p0lybot is obviously fake, I'm going to be talking about how this could actually be put into effect and theoretically bypass anti-cheats like cheatbreaker. So first off, like I said, to run code as ring 0 under Windows, you have to load a device driver. So the way that you load a custom driver, which is obviously an unsigned driver, to sign a driver you have to pay Microsoft to do it and everything. It costs money. To load an unsigned driver, first off you put Windows 10 into test mode, which is like a setting in the boot configuration. And then after that you disable driver signature enforcement, which is basically what enforces only allowing signed drivers to load. Now, obviously, normally when you load a driver, it would have to be written for a device, which could be like your keyboard or mouse or like the parts in your computer, so like your processor, graphics card, or whatever. But there is actually something known as a software driver, which is basically just a driver, but instead of working for devices, it works for software, so it can interface with different software in the computer. Now, I believe that if we wrote a software driver, we could use syscalls, which are basically a very low-level way of calling different system processes and other things under operating systems. We could use syscalls to interface with this device driver, and pretty much what we do, we have an exe file that would use syscalls, so it would go, the code for the ghost client or whatever would go from the exe through syscalls to the device driver, which would be running as ring 0, by the way. The device driver would run as ring 0, and the actual exe that interfaces with the device driver would be running as user mode. So the device driver would run as ring 0. We'd interface with that through the program with syscalls, and then from there the device driver would inject the code into Minecraft or whatever game you're trying to bypass the anti-cheat on. And theoretically, this method should bypass whatever anti-cheats. The other method that doesn't involve syscalls is to just have the device driver load the code directly, like actually write the ghost client into the device driver itself instead of using an exe to interface with it. The problem that this comes up with this is that obviously if you want to update the client or whatever, you'd have to uninstall the device, which would then require you to reboot your computer. And you can only install the new version after you uninstall that, reboot your computer, wait for it to boot back up, and then install the new version, which would then require another reboot after you installed it. So that would be kind of the annoying method. It would be easier just to interface with it with syscalls and exe. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to give my 2 cents on the topic. This has been Michael, and I'm out. Peace.